through 2 games, the basketball team has been delivering, recently picking up a victory over a historically pretty good program in UNLV on the road, I might add. The Tigers at one point trailed by 12 points, but turned it on in the second half behind the play of P.J. Haggerty. Finished with a game-high 29 points, 16 of those coming in the second half to get the 80-74 victory. Shooting guard Kobe Rogers added 16 points to go with 7 rebounds and 2 assists. Head coach Penny Hardaway on the win in Sin City.
And we know what's expected, and then we go in the game, and then they punch us first. And then we finally catch rhythm and get a rhythm on what's going on. We get back into the game, and then we start dominating. We're trying to find a trigger from the first seconds of the game. And we haven't found that yet, but ultimately we're 2-0, so we're happy about that.
Penny Hardaway says it best. You have a second half team for the second game in a row,
right? And
that's going to be something that probably bites you in the butt moving forward.
Yeah, I think that they're just struggling to get into their game plan. At the same time, they're 2-0 against Missouri and UNLV. I don't think any Memphis fan is really upset about that.
Nobody's mad about a 2-0 start. Let's start there.
But exactly. But every Memphis fan is mad in these first halves. They're like, oh, great. We eked out a win. Not eked out a win, but we got past Missouri after a really good second half, and now we're down by 12, creating UNLV were creating a lot of turnovers. The Memphis, over a 2-minute span, going into 4 minutes left in the half, had 4 straight turnovers, or 4 turnovers in the span of 2 minutes.
Yeah.
There was issues with that. They finished with 13 turnovers. They had 14, I believe, against Missouri. So, yeah, there were some issues with kind of figuring out where you're supposed to be on the court. You see it with these guys, and I think it's similar to last season where guys just want to get in their spots that they had at other places and get to their high percentage shots, and Penny might be looking for something else. And what I think Penny is really looking for is getting those points in the paint. And in these road games, it's so important, but I think that that's going to be their identity this season. When you look at P.J. Haggerty, 29 points, he was 9 of 12 from the free throw line. You're talking about someone who shot the second most free throw attempts in the nation last year. That's what that's what P.J. Haggerty is going to do. He's a good three-point shooter, but I don't think that's what they're going to ask him to do. They're looking for him to drive in the paint, dump off, and that's what you saw against Missouri, and that's what you saw against UNLV as well. Getting Dane Danger and Moussa Cisse, those high percentage shots. And also Kobe Rogers looked much improved after Missouri. I was kind of worried about him after Missouri. Comes in, gets 16 points, and Colby, had one of the highest three-point percentages in the country last year. We're talking about top half.
Yeah.
And that's not what they asked him to do in this game either. Colby was driving in the paint, and we really saw that. I didn't see that much from him at Wichita State last year, but you kind of saw how creative he was.
Yeah.
And then
he does have a bit of a creative dribble.
Yeah, and then Tyrese Hunter can do that as well. So.
Well, I think what we really are learning through these first 2 games is that P.J. Haggerty is going to be your closer.
Yeah, 100%.
Game in and game out. He's going to be in a similar role to the David Jones role that we saw before, to the Kendrick Davis role that we saw before, because his ability to get to the basket, draw a defense in, and then he can either score. He's really good at finishing either way or getting to the free throw line. And, he still has 3-4 assists in that game as well. So his ability to kick out 2 open shooters is going to play a part further on down the road. What I really liked about him is just he has that alpha mentality, right? He is the aggressor in every one of these games that we've seen thus far, even with the exhibition games. He scored 16 of his 29 points in the second half against UNLV. He scored 12 of the last 19 team points for Memphis. And so when we look through the sound bites and some of the press for some of the beat writers that were out there, they're talking to Nicholas Jourdain, and they're saying, yeah, he's the guy. Like we're going to him to close the game, and we know that he's got that mentality that he's going to go score. And I wonder how well that's going to be able to translate moving forward. I don't know that you're going to be able to play in the Maui Invitational and play a UConn, right? Yeah. And you're just hoping that P.J. Haggerty can carry you down the stretch of an entire game in that way. They're going to have to get a little bit more contribution from some more players. I'd love to see something from a Tyrese Hunter in a game like that, a little bit more. And I think what we did see too was dealing with some injuries. And that might contribute to that first half where it's a little bit rough because Tyrese Hunter and P.J. Haggerty didn't practice. Yeah. For the 3 practices leading up to UNLV, they didn't practice. They didn't get back on the floor until they were in Las Vegas.
Right.
So I think that does contribute to some of the first half woes that you see. You probably had guys who've been used to running the offense for the last 3 days, and then PJ and Tyrese maybe trying to get their legs underneath them again. And you kind of find it in the second half, but there's only so many more times that can happen before it really comes back to bite you against some of these good teams that you're going to face here coming up soon.
Well, he's going to need other pieces, and you mentioned Tyrese Hunter, who, against the UConn is going to have to come in big. We're talking about they're going to have to both get close to 20 points, which I think Tyrese is completely capable of.
Somebody has to get close to 20 points to go with PJ. Yeah.
Somebody does, and I think that one of the biggest assets that Memphis have, no pun intended, is Moussa Cisse and Dane Danger. Mm-hmm. They're two big men on the team. They had 7 assists combined in this game, and Penny said after the win that he wants these guys to be passing out of the paint more.
Sure.
Something that we haven't seen at Memphis in a while. A big man that can pass out of the paint. That really wasn't who Malcolm Dandridge was. But it seems like these guys are buying into that. And when you have 36 points in the paint, it's not all, drive and dumps to these guys. A lot of times they're kind of luring them in with thinking that Dane's going to post up and put his little baby hook up, and they're going to cheat off of him. And when you see more and more film of Moussa and Dane doing that, that allows for more outside shots, high percentage shots in the corner for guys like Tyrese, Colby, and PJ. And if that shot isn't there, then that same guy that was cheating out has to hop out to PJ in the corner, and then you can pop it back into Dane, and he may have a mismatch. And so Penny's very smart about creating these type of scenarios. He's all about, good coaches are always all about creating mismatches. There we go.
There you go.
Words
are hard on Monday.
It's tough. And getting high percentage shots. And I think that is their best lane to be able to do that. And if you get 36 points in the paint, like I said, it'll open up for more types of things. And you're not going to get 36 points in the paint every game, but I like the way they looked in the second half in both games. If they can play like that, Avery, this might be one of the better Memphis Tigers teams we've seen in the last 5 years.
50 points in the second half of that game. They shoot 74% in the second half of that game. Yeah. Really impressive stuff. Don't know if they can continue to do that, especially because you're talking about PJ, Tyrese, and Kobe Rogers all playing 34 minutes for the second game in a row. That may not be as sustainable as Penny Hardaway would probably like it moving forward. So we got a lot going on in the area on the college scene. We're going to take a quick little break here, but when we come back, how about those Grizzlies? They've been rolling, and today they sit atop the Southwest Division, but how long can that last without Ja Morant? We'll talk about it next.